Why don't we start by you telling us a bit about your role in Indeed?
Yeah, so I'm a product manager at Indeed, and what that means is that I'm constantly trying to think of the vision and the future for the product that I work on, and I also define what my team is working on. And my product is the job alert email and other job seeker emails that we send.
Fantastic. We are all too familiar with the poorly timed, impersonal, generic email messages that crowd our inbox on a daily basis. Actually, by a show of hands, how many of you have received one of these messages in the past week? How about the past day? That's certainly very telling. And therein lies the real challenge that we're facing. How do we transform these generic, low-performance emails into visually appealing, on-brand, relevant marketing communications? Now, Janie, that is exactly what you were faced with when you first joined Indeed. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so when I first joined Indeed in 2015 as a product manager, I was put in charge of our job alert email. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what that email is. So it's actually a very simple email. It's a job email with jobs inside of it that we send to job seekers. And they can go to the site and subscribe to get jobs if they don't want to have to come back and manually search every day. And it's also one of the biggest emails that we send in terms of reach.
What does that look like exactly?
We send currently billions of job alert emails every month.
Sorry, did you say billions?
Yeah, it's a pretty big email.
No kidding.
And what's great about that for me as a product manager is that it gives me a lot of volume that I can use for doing A/B tests and to measure results. Now, when I started at Indeed in 2015, actually before I even started working there, when I was still interviewing, I signed up for the job alert email and I signed up for an account when I was researching the company, so I would be able to, talk about my recommendations. And I actually decided before I even started working at Indeed that I wanted to do something about this email. So I got it and I thought that it looked very plain. It didn't look like any design thinking had gone into it. It was extremely utilitarian. It reminded me of Craigslist or Google in the early 2000s.
I'm sure many of us can identify with that design reference. And for those of us who have blocked it out of our minds completely, do you mind walking us down memory lane?
Sure. So imagine an email with no HTML styles applied at all. So blue links with underlines, default font. To me, it looked like someone had literally gone searching around the internet and copied and pasted some jobs into an email to send to me.
That's exactly why we blocked it out.
Yeah, so I looked at this email, and to me, it didn't appear that much thought had gone into it, but I know, and especially after I started at Indeed, I knew that actually we have entire teams dedicated to choosing the most relevant jobs to send to users, making sure they're timely, and making sure that our communications are relevant. But from looking at the email, that was really not evident to me.
All jokes aside, you're right, there's a reason why these emails exist. And most of the time the reason is because the design is data-driven. And that's what happens when design isn't partnering with data in order to inform the end result. So what led to this point in this email?
So we got there kind of the way you just described. Indeed is an extremely data-driven company. And when I joined, we were a lot smaller than we are today, and there wasn't much of a design or UX department at all. We were pretty much run by product managers and developers. But we were very, very data-driven, and we A/B test everything that we do. Every single element of the site and of this email had been tested at some point, even though it didn't look that way to me. But the problem with this kind of small iterative testing is that if you continually test very small changes, for example, if I change the font size of this link by 1 point, will conversion rate go up 1%? Or if I change this button to a slightly lighter shade of blue, what will happen? If you continually do tests like that, you can kind of test your way into a rut where you have optimized individual elements, but you're not necessarily seeing the big picture. You're almost looking at your product under a microscope, and you lose sight of how things work together.
Wow, designing your way into a rut. Absolutely. Did you agree with this philosophy?
Needless to say, no, I did not. So actually, in my prior career as a product manager, I had developed my own testing philosophy, and that was always be testing something small, something medium, and something large. And the thing I like about that is that it kind of forces you to think creatively and to not be only driven by the numbers of small iterative changes.
Fantastic. So, how exactly did you get buy-in to redesign this email in full?
Yeah, so it was actually a pretty interesting story. So I started my new job and I went in guns blazing and said, I am going to redesign this email. And that did not go over so well. My bosses kind of looked at me and said, well, why don't you try testing each little change one at a time? Now, obviously, that was not what I wanted to do. Firstly, it would take ages, and I just thought I'd get lost in the weeds. So what I did instead was I got buy-in from my team, like the engineers and designer on my own team. I basically told them every chance that I got, someday we are going to redesign this email, we're going to fix it. And then we finally got our chance during a hackathon.
Oh, excellent.
So there was a hackathon, and my developers and I worked together to quickly whip up a new email. Obviously, we didn't have much time, so we looked at other emails in our inboxes, took the elements that we liked. We were doing a little bit of copying and pasting of HTML to get it right, and we kind of hacked together an email that we were happy with. We were able to turn that on at a very small percentage. Since it was a hackathon, it was okay.
That is fantastic. So you used a hackathon to get this project off the ground. How did they respond to the new design?
So fortunately, this hackathon design performed very well.
Good.
We actually saw a sustained 11% improvement in conversion rate, which was a much bigger win than we had seen in any of our other tests that we'd done. So once they saw that number, it was much easier to convince my bosses that this big change was actually not as scary as it seemed, and yeah, we had buy-in.
That is great. So everyone's on board. You proved that this works. Did this signify the rollout?
Not exactly. So like I mentioned, we kind of hacked it together, and we had borrowed some HTML from other emails, and clearly we couldn't roll out something that wasn't like officially sanctioned and developed by us. And also we wanted to make sure that it was cohesive with Indeed's brand. So what we did at that point was worked with our UX designer to create a variation that's based on the hackathon idea, but which was more in line with the styles we were using on the site at the time. And we were able to roll that out. Fortunately, that variation tested just as well as the initial hackathon did.
Brilliant. What did this mean for all other emails at Indeed?
So obviously rolling this new design out in the job alert was a big success for me. That was my initial goal, but taking a look at the other emails that we were sending, some of them were honestly even worse than the job alert had been.
Oh my.
There was not much consistency. For a few of them, the consistency was that they looked consistently bad. So yeah, I kind of made it was clear that the next step needed to be rolling out across the other emails as well. So what I did was I went to my UX designer again, and we created a template that was based on what we had seen success with in the job alert, but contained elements that other emails also needed. And then we were able to share that template with other teams. We changed a few of the emails over ourselves as well.
Fantastic. So you went from wanting to redesign this email to a hackathon to proving it, and then developing a templated email system that you rolled out across the organization.
Yeah,
brilliant.
exactly.
You are currently in your second redesign. Did
Yep.
it come about in the same way as the first one?
So no, not at all. So after that first redesign, I actually took a break from big redesigns for a while. It was a little exhausting. But in the meantime, like I mentioned, Indeed has grown a lot, and especially our UX and design org has grown immensely. And an effort was underway to create a design system for Indeed.com, the site. And so once I saw that effort starting to gain momentum, I basically went to the team that was running it and reminded them that email is an important way that our customers engage with our brand.
Right, yes.
So they are developing a design system for the web, for mobile, and I basically said, we need to create a branch of this design system for email, and I recommend that we test it in the job alert first, like we did last time.
Wow, the leap from templates to a dedicated design system for email, that's a great leap, but a very important one.
Yeah.
What was the driving force behind the job alert email being the test platform?
Yeah, so the job alert email, like I mentioned, has a huge volume. It's probably the biggest email that we send. We send it in over 60 countries and 28 languages as well. So Indeed is a global site, and we have to pay attention to conversion in all of those markets.
Right.
Additionally, the job alert contains all of the elements that we need. So Indeed is driven by helping people find jobs, and that email obviously has jobs in it. It also has call to actions for our other products. It has recommendations. And we aren't willing to accept a drop in conversion in the job alert email, so it forces us to pay attention to the most important metrics.
Fantastic. And did you follow the exact same process as with the first email, or did it change?
It actually, yeah, it was quite different this time. So getting buy-in was not a problem. Like I mentioned, our design org has grown a lot, and there's an effort already with buy-in from the top leadership to create this design system, so it was less of an issue. I was able to work immediately with a designer and create a new version of the job alert that was based on the design system that we were testing on the site. And we implemented that and turned it on as a test. But unfortunately, we didn't see an 11% win this time. Unfortunately, we actually saw a drop in conversion from that first version that we tested.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
What do you think caused a drop in conversion?
So that's the thing about testing big changes is it's a little risky, although it's fun. If you see a drop in conversion, you may have changed a dozen things, and you don't know which one of them is the reason. So we basically had to go back and create a large multivariate test in order to try to figure out exactly which elements had caused the drop. And that took a while. But we did finally arrive at a winning combination that allowed us to roll it out more quickly.
Okay, that's excellent. So now that you have the winning combination, what does this mean for the future of email design at Indeed?
We're still testing one last little multivariate, one last tiny thing in the job alert before we roll the rest of the way out. Right now we're at 50%, so half of the job alerts that we send are still in the old design.
Good.
And once we find that final winning combination and we finish rolling out in the job alert, I plan to approach it much like last time. So we're going to create a template and a design system using the components that the job alert email needs. So I'm already working with my UX designer on the next few emails. And then ultimately, we're going to create a template and design system that we will share with all of the teams at Indeed that are sending email.
Brilliant. Jenny, you have certainly achieved a lot at Indeed. And you've been able to overcome a lot of the obstacles that we all face on a daily basis in the quest for visually appealing, relevant, on-brand marketing communications. Did you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with us today?
Firstly, as a product manager at Indeed, I'm always testing, and I have to be extremely data-driven. But it's important to remember that the data doesn't tell the whole story. there's definitely lots of small, subtle design things that may impact your users that are too subtle to measure. And so it's important to balance your understanding of your data with understanding of holistic experience. And if you are, as a brand, are sending communications to your users and your customers that are disjointed, it can actually be jarring for them and it can erode their trust in you.
Right.
So it's really important to get it right. And secondly, back to my product management philosophy of always be testing something large, something medium, something small. It's a little easier said than done. It can be difficult to always think of something large to test, but it forces you to stay creative while being data-driven.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's great to be here.